This episode contains material that may be triggering to some individuals. Please check the show notes for more information and be mindful of your own mental health and comfort levels. Before we get to today's episode, I wanted to take a moment and let you know all about the extras you can enjoy when you become a Quiet Connection Patreon member. Not only will you have access to our entire catalog of episodes ad-free, you can also listen to exclusive bonus episodes. And for only $5, you can even get a monthly handwritten note from me, along with stickers, magnets, and other handmade goodies. Consider becoming a Patreon member today and help continue the fight to end the stigma surrounding postpartum mental health disorders. Welcome to Quiet Connection, a podcast dedicated to ending the stigma surrounding perinatal mental health. Today, I'm connecting with Kendall Concini. Kendall is a passionate mental health advocate and now an author whose journey into parenthood brought her face-to-face with struggles like depression and anxiety. Before starting her parenting journey, Kendall was so adamant about not having kids due to her mental health. But when she and her husband decided to take the plunge, she prepared for battle. Kendall shares the raw reality of those early days, how she found her voice to advocate for her needs, and how her personal experiences led her to write a beautiful children's book that's truly for every parent who experiences cloudy days. Here's Kendall. Hello! This morning I'm here with Kendall. Kendall, how are you?
Good. Thanks for having me. How are you today?
I'm doing okay. I always tell my guests Monday mornings and Friday mornings, I'm a little bit fried, but usually by the end of chatting with you guys, I'm all jazzed up and ready for the day. So I'm excited. But yeah, Kendall, rather than me go through the list of things that I know about you and what you've been up to, I'd love it if you could introduce yourself to my listeners and let us know who was Kendall before starting your parenting journey.
So, I'm Kendall. I'm a huge mental health advocate, now turned author because of that. And I am just so thrilled to be here because talking mental health, talking struggles, who was I before parenting? I didn't think I was going to be a parent. Like, I knew I volunteered with kids, I worked with kids. Everyone thought I'd be so great at it. And I have depression. At the time, it was generalized anxiety disorder, now ADHD diagnosis. And so I always stopped myself because there's the when you have to be home with it 24/7, how do you do it? And so when my husband and I decided to have kids, I was in a really, balanced place. And when we told people we were going to have kids, we had to make sure everyone knew it was on purpose because I'd been so adamant, like, no kids, I'm not going to do it. I was like, it is on purpose. And then it was kind of gearing up for postpartum. So it's like I have depression. I know that's just going to be it's going to happen. And so I really became this version of myself that was preparing for battle. And so
Yeah.
I got a therapist, I got a team, I found pre-mom friends while pregnant and stuff, and was just kind of preparing for the whole motherhood journey and what was going to come. And then, all of my expectations hit. So it was such an up and down experience. And I love that there are spaces like this to talk about that.
Yeah. You just answered like 5 of my questions in like less than 30 seconds. So we're already on a roll here. But what stuck out to me most is you're not the first mom that I've spoken to who, I mean, has a history with mental health, has a history with generalized anxiety or depression. And you're not the first mom that was like, okay, this is probably going to happen. So I'm going to prepare for it. And I'm super curious to dive into that a little bit more because every experience is a little bit different when it comes to that. So, my first question is yes, you had a history of mental health, so you kind of knew what to look out for. Did you have any knowledge on what perinatal mental health disorders were or could be prior to deciding to get pregnant?
No, I think it's, the TV look. right? Like you see some shows and it just looks like the gimmicky, uncontrollable crying, which did happen to me, but it didn't look like a lot of the small things. And a lot of people weren't having that conversation to just have like a little wave and go like, "Oh, like this doesn't feel great." I mean, I knew I wasn't I'm sensory based, so I knew I wasn't gonna enjoy the feeling of the belly and the movement in there, and so there was just kind of like this ick factor, but then the hormones started shifting, and it was when you had posted something recently about, like, grieving for yourself and losing yourself, like, I didn't expect to be excited and then really grieving at the same time in it, and I think that wasn't explained, like, yes, you can say I'm gonna cry and get stressed, babies crying, stressful, pumping hormones and stuff. It was the kind of, like, fighting your own brain aspect a lot that was more shocking, and, I can prepare as much as I can, but then some of the stuff that started to kind of hit in there, people aren't really honest about it.
Yeah, and you hit on things that are super important to me and that I talk a lot about, like the idea of and we talk a lot about duality, but that kind of signifies two things when in fact, like, you can feel all the feels, all at the same time. So like, that you can be like, "Well, you can be grieving, but you can also be excited." Well, I like to say "and." Like, you can be really excited about this pregnancy that you planned for and wanted to have, and feel the ick. Like,
Yeah.
that ick that you were talking about, I completely relate to. Being pregnant felt like having a parasite, and right? Like, and that's kind of, I guess, taboo to say, but I was just like, "Oh, like, stop move," like, I mean, don't stop moving, but, like, I don't like how this feels. This is really sensory overwhelming to my nervous system, so I totally relate to that. It's also interesting to me that you sort of, or it sounds like you started gathering a team early. It sounds like these things were affecting you in the perinatal period as well, so even before baby came. So you really were trying to build a village in preparation. What did that look like? Who were you bringing on your team?
So at first it was when I told my husband, like, "Let's try," and he was like, "Are you serious?" And I said, "Yes, but we really have to, like, talk through, like, all of my fears with this, like, everything, and we have to constantly talk about them, and you have to constantly refute it to me," because we had fostered, and so a lot of it was anything negative I was putting in my head. I said, "You have to use, like, pictures of our time together with the fosters, or you have to use positive things," and my love language shifted to, "I need affirmations, notes, reminders." I found a therapist who I said, "I'm really here to catastrophize and talk worst case scenario for everything and just on a loop to exhaust myself." So then when good stuff happens, it can just kind of refute it. And then just finding that group of friends that was okay. I think a big question was like, people people ask you, "How are you doing?" And it's so like general, and I'm like, "Do you actually wanna know? Because I wanna say I'm miserable, and I want that to be okay, and not like a, 'But you have so much.'" I'm like, "No, I wanna sit with it," and, Brené Brown did the really great video, Sympathy versus Empathy, like, I would send that to people, and I was like, "You need to watch this, and you need to read her article, and you need to know that next time you ask me, 'How am I?' you just need to sit and say, 'Oh, I'm sorry, you're awful,' and not anything else," and so a lot of it was, like, preparing people to know that I just needed to get out the honest answers and find who is willing to honestly, like, stay in that and not just be like, "Oh, you're supposed to glow," and then if you don't, ghost you. So I was like,
Yeah,
That's okay, it hurts, but because I was like, "It's gonna get a lot harder than this." So, it was kind of equipping myself with all of those people and pieces to it.
but it sounds like you were an incredible advocate for yourself. I'm not sure if it felt empowering in the moment or if it felt like more of a chore to kind of explain to everyone exactly what you need, but I just wanna, like, voice that and recognize that you really did advocate for yourself and for what you needed throughout your pregnancy, and that's amazing. That's not something that a lot of parents do get stuck in that, like, "Well, I should be grateful, and I should feel happy that this is happening, and I'll just say I'm fine." What did you feel empowered throughout that process?
No,
Yeah.
it there's, like, part of where I started in, like, my book journey and blog is just writing now, like, looking back, and I think a big thing was when I started my Instagram too, I shared some photos of, like, chaotic moments, and I said I used to take pictures of the bad moments, so later, when it's not bad, I can remind myself, like, "You made it through that." And the depression that I already had on top of what happened prenatal was the self-doubt, the imposter syndrome, and so a lot of it was, "I shouldn't have done this. I'm not gonna be a great mother." When my daughter she had a hernia, she had, like, stomach issues, and I was like, made a bad baby because I'm the worst," and you keep telling yourself that, and then when you do everything right, like, she ended up being fine, her language took off, she's advanced, and I had a hard time crediting myself. I was like, "I don't know how she," and everyone's like, "It's you." And now it's fascinating for myself because through all of that self-doubt, writing the book and getting it out there, everyone, not like to they compliment it, and it is amazing because I am, like, now going, "Oh, okay, I'm like a poster child for depression." And so but it's weird because 'cause I'm like, you couldn't tell me this then, because then when you're in it, it is like that is louder than it should be. And then when you're having kind of a sunny day and going like, "Okay, I made it through that, and I advocated for myself," and trying to see it as a strength, it's a process. You never know if I'm gonna feel like this tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, you kinda just try and have that always a balance.
Yeah. That is incredibly relatable. I am 100%, like, vibing isn't the right word, but, like, I know that feeling, that imposter syndrome that doesn't go away. And I love that you're talking about it, not because it's like, "Yay, let's talk about imposter syndrome," but, like, let's normalize it, right? Because I think there's so many more of us than not that have those same feelings or similar feelings. So, I'm really excited to dive into the book, but I wanna, like, take us down the journey and on the path. So let's bring it to when baby arrives, when your daughter was born. What was that process like for you? How was your mental health in terms of, like, it's go time for baby?
I remember being very excited leaving the hospital because it was like, finally, all of that's over. She came really early, and there was like all of the emotions around that. And we were driving home, and my husband was like, "They just let us take it home." And I was like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And then you forget everything you like pre-read and stuff. It was like she had silent reflux, but for the longest time, they couldn't figure that out. So it wasn't like colic, it wasn't reflux because she wasn't spitting up. So now if you ask her, and she's 4 and her language is great and her voice is adorable, you say, "Oh, how were you as a baby?" She'll say, "I was a terror." And it's cute because she's a 4-year-old, but we try and be honest with her. Like, I didn't bond with her for like the first 6 months. She had a tongue tie, a hospital screwed it up, so she had trouble eating. She, like, hated eating with me. She had trauma from being on my breast and the tongue tie hurting. So anytime she got close to me to eat, it's like memory. And so
Yeah.
my husband had to feed her. He had to, like, hold her a lot. She didn't want to be against me. So it was just this people didn't wanna, like, hear that I'm, like, on the floor crying next to her and stuff, or asking people, like, "Can you take her for an hour?" Just, like and they're like, "No, it's your newborn, hold it." I'm like, "Take it for an hour." Like, it is
Yeah.
okay, and, when you have to put the kid in the other room and let them scream and just walk away for 5 minutes, and then you feel guilty walking away for sanity, and it took a while to kind of get through all that and remind yourself, like, "No, we did this because it is going to be okay, and we're gonna get through this, and we're stronger than this, and one day she'll have a redeeming quality." She didn't smile for the longest time either. So we were like, "Just give us something." Like, stop screaming at us, give us a smirk. Eventually, she ended up being really gassy, and we got, like, fake smiles, and we're like, "We'll take it." And so it just we have, like, photos where we kinda ended up putting her, like, as the screaming, crying, like, in movie scenes and making it into, like, our own little joke with blanket art and stuff, and so it was just a lot, and then everyone's just so excited to say, "Isn't it great?" And you're like, "Do you want the real answer? Because just give her time."
Yeah, were you able to give the real answer to anybody?
To some, yes, there were admittedly, like, mom friends. There was a really great mom app. It was like Tinder, and you swipe and you make friends. And so, like, I had made friends with a bunch of people. At the time, it was like a work from home mom. And as she was hard, and I was just like, this is hard. I don't love her all the time. Can we like take our kids somewhere where they can sit there and we sit here? You lose some people who just want to be like, no, everything is awesome. And then you keep some people who are like like that, "Did we just become best friends?" I'm like, "Yes, let's put them
Yes.
put them over there to watch each other." And so
Yes.
it's a learning curve, and so, like, that hurt too because you think you have this group to, like, bond with and form, and that's why we say, like, now my, like, core crew and stuff, and who's going to kind of sit with you through the mess.
Yeah. I'm curious to know too. I know what it was like for me, but did you notice a difference in your like general depression, like that you had familiarity with and understood, and then the shift after you had baby?
Yeah, with general depression, it can be like cause and effect in my head. So something happens and you start to like recognize the patterns of like sinking under because of an event in life response to that. And with baby, it was just the hormones of like, I don't know why. Like I would be home and we would both be sitting on the couch and she'd be like, well, not cuddled, but we had to hold her up like on an arm and bop her. And I'd be like doing that and she'd be calm and then you just, like, lose it, and you're like, "I
Mhm.
don't I don't know what," but it's the feeling of, like, "Is this gonna stop? Am I gonna ruin this? Is she gonna be okay?" And then when I was, like, pumping and trying to get milk and stuff and all of the self-doubt comes in, it was just way more unexplained, so prior to baby, if I was having, like, a little depression wave, I can tell my husband, like, "Well, this is going on, and I just need to process and cope this." And with baby, I was just like, "I don't know what's going on." It just showed up out of nowhere. And so it just felt really like a lot more unexpected. And they'll say like, "Oh, that's your hormone shifts, and that's like the nursing and all of this." And like, I don't like it.
Yeah. It doesn't make it any easier.
Yeah,
You're like, "Thanks. Now
yeah.
what? Now what?" It sounds like you and your partner were really good at communicating through this whole thing, though. Was,
Sometimes.
sometime yeah? Well, talk to me about that a little bit, because 'cause I'm curious, like, how did you guys navigate those first few weeks together?
We were very lucky and unlucky because we were pregnant and then COVID hit, so
Mhm.
everything, like, shut down, and so we're home together in it, and I think we just got really good at tagging out, so he knew that we would talk about, like, taking a step away. So there was a lot of times that I would be up at night and I'd be trying to, like, nurse or pump and then nurse, and he can just hear what was going on, and he would come in and be like, "Tag out," and you would say like, "No, no, no, I got it," and he's like, "No, like, we made this rule, like, tag out," and we would switch. Then we set kind of boundaries on like, okay, we know that if we are going through this and losing sleep, it's going to be worse. So like I would sleep from like 9 to 11 and he would take over from like 11 to 2 and we would kind of rotate. And so it was just this finding openness to say like I need to step away, you need to do this. And so we created that rhythm of it and then also the spaces. So we made sure because we were home and COVID was closed that, like, if we had to do something like feed the baby, which was difficult, we would do it in that room so it wouldn't feel like it's constant everywhere and always around us. So we would kind of space out our house and had the luxury to do that at the time. And then just making sure people were available. So he would, "Do you need, do you need a book? Do you need to call a friend? Like, what do you need to get through this?" And so kind of we would have also like touch bases. So, what's the temperature today? And we would talk about it in the mornings and stuff. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I love that so much, and even though you say, like, it didn't feel empowering at the time, I think your nervous system was so overwhelmed, um,
mhm.
hearing about it now, it's like, oh, that's badass, like, you guys really did set up everything as best as you could for each other, and even then, it's not easy, and it's not rainbows and sunshine, and that's in your book too a little bit, and we'll talk about that, but it's not always this glamorous thing, but you guys were there for each other. During this time, what were some of your coping skills and resources that you were using? Or did you have any, like, in terms of like, therapy or things like that?
Yeah, I was seeing a regular therapist. Also had a really great support group. So it was virtual and we would go and kind of chat about life at the time. And things that were going on, like, specific to that group. And then I had the close friends who I knew, like, if it's 11 PM, call them. If it's 2 AM, call them. I love reading. So I think the first year of my first child, I read 120 books, and it was just sitting and nursing and reading nonstop. So I made a point that, like, I hate it nursing, so I bought myself, like, a new book I wanted, and that was by the nursing chair only, and then I got to, like, dive into it, and so pieces like that, and then I like running, so I would go on a run and kind of escape. We did a lot of walking, hikes. It was also COVID, so outdoor time was, like, the only thing allowed and kind of regular loops and things. And then at the time, there were just things going on that everyone was online and virtual. So there was like virtual board games and virtual podcasts and happiness places to go. And so it was just trying to find stuff to break up the routine and get through it. And that's why it was so interesting. Like with my second, I had all of that in place. But the magic to this second one was at that time, my daughter was 2 and because she was there, and I felt like if I was gonna do the same thing I did in postnatal with her, that she would see it, and that was, like, a huge fear is, like, what happens and that's kinda where the book comes from is, like, what happens if she sees me go through that, and she's too young to understand what it is, and so a lot of what I experienced with her, luckily, I did not experience with my son because she was there to kind of I had to keep, like, living, like, I couldn't pause and have a mental breakdown because she wanted to play, and so I had to kind of she really shifted my focus, and I was like I didn't go through it as much because I didn't want her to outwardly see it a lot, and so I was able to use a lot more of our tools, like us reading together, us going to the library, us going on a walk, so when I felt it coming on, I was like, "Okay, let's change the environment, like, let's focus on this," and so it wasn't as bad the second time around.
First of all, like, I love all of the coping tools that you talked about, and I think I especially love them because a lot of the parents that I talk to who had COVID babies talk about how isolating it was and how different it was, and how, yes, there's one point to, like, you don't have to be at work and you can be at home, you and your partner are both at home, but usually it's, and this is totally valid, um, it's talked about kind of in a negative and isolating and lonely time, and I loved hearing you talk about all of the opportunities that you did have because the world was shut down. Like, I had to get out and go hiking because I couldn't go to the movie theater or I couldn't go shopping or, like, and my partner was home, we were both home, so it's interesting to hear that perspective on it. So you talked about not bonding for quite a while. When did you notice the shift, and what was kind of the, like, tipping point where you're like, "Oh, something's different now."
We have a book for when my daughter's 18. I wanted a son. I wanted a son so bad. And when we popped that gender reveal tube and it was pink, the picture and the video is my face like and it is
Oh, no.
awful. And we were doing it's a book where it was like, write a thing a day, and I wrote to her through the pregnancy in the first year of her life, and it was, "What do you mean you're a girl? This is gonna be hard." And then when she came out, she looked exactly like me, like, she still does, it just was spot on me. But then it was also really hard seeing, like, her cry and my emotions on her face because I'm like, "That's yes, that's what I look like right now." And so all of the all of the positive reasons you have a kid to like, "Yay, a mini me and cuddle and do all the things together." She wouldn't eat, she wouldn't be held, like, we never held her like a normal baby. You had to have her face down on her belly with pressure, and you had to constantly move, like, people didn't wanna hold her, so they always gave us back, she was always screaming. And so it was a lot of did I do this? This wasn't what I signed up for. Just this is not the ideal. And then it was guilt. It was guilt because my husband was like, no, he's a lot calmer and more patient. So it was kind of that like, did I give him a defective baby? And I know that sounds horrible saying because she's fine now. And I'm like, you weren't
No.
defective, baby.
No.
Well, if she listens and be like, what do you think's wrong with me, mom? I'm like, there was a lot wrong with you. And so it was just this constant, this like, where's the redeeming happy? And like I said, she wasn't smiling, she wasn't calmly sleeping on us, cuddling and stuff. So it was just like, everyone says you love the newborn phase because this is the time you get. And I'm like, she's not doing any of that stuff. So I want to just be like, she's noisy and I can't sleep and I can't feed her and I can't like she wasn't latching, so I wasn't pumping and all of that. And so the shift was finally when I had noted to the doctor because we were constantly going to the doctor and calling. I was like, she arches really weird. And they said, well, maybe it is reflux and she's just not spitting up. So they put her on reflux meds just to try it out. And it clicked. Like she finally settled down and you can hold her. And this was about 6 months in. And even the doctor was like, she's a much more pleasant baby. And we were like, we know. And so we were able to hold her and we were able to, like, have her lay on our belly, and, like, then she started smiling, and it was just like, "Okay, here are finally, like, good parts spliced in." And it was just this complete different experience with her. And then it was great because when my son came out, he looked exactly like my husband, which weirded me out a lot. Like I couldn't they went to, like, latch him on and I was like, "It looks like a 40-year-old my husband." I was like, "I can't look down while he's, like, nursing." But he smiled right away and I was like, "Alright, we're fine." He's smiling in the hospital, like, "We're fine." So it was the shift of, like, you need something. You need to get, like, the smile from the baby, you need to get your first good cuddle, you need to get some kind of moment with them, and we didn't have that for a while, and I don't know, like, if parents out there don't people don't want to like, don't understand that you need that to kind of be like, "Yes, this is my wonderful what I was looking forward to," and when you get out and it's just all the hard parts nonstop, it's like, yeah, you're gonna doubt, "What did you just do?"
Yeah.
'Cause you also have to be home, like, my husband and I used to travel all the time, and I'm like, "We're not gonna be able to travel ever, like, she's so loud, you can't bring her anywhere." All those parts.
Yeah. I remember texting a friend and being like, "I think my baby hates me." And it was the same
Exactly,
thing,
yes.
right? It was the same thing. I'm like, "She's not smiling, she's never happy, she's" this was my second, not my first, but I was convinced that she hated me. And again, those feelings of like, what's wrong? What did I do? Something's wrong. Somebody doesn't know what's going on and we have to fix it. And yeah, so when you say like if other moms can relate to that, oh my God, yeah. 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 Um, follow up, which kind of like ties them together is after experiencing all of that and all of that hard and all of those feelings, when did you decide?
He was like, "I know where you're going. Why
Yeah,
have another?"
right? When did you just decide, like, let's do this again?
I I grew up really close to my brother when we were kids. Unfortunately, I don't talk to him anymore now, but I have that void of having a sibling now. My husband is really close with his sisters. So we knew we weren't like only child people. We knew we wanted bigger family. When we had left the hospital and I told you the joke, I had joked back with my husband. I was like, well, you can ask them a year from now when we come back for the second one because we knew we wanted close ages. That was really important in what was really great about my husband and his sister's relationships. And it was kind of a maybe some of what happened with my brother and I is just the gap was big. Um, and so when she was really hard, I would just tell him, I was like, "We're gonna have to go right away then." Like, if she starts getting easy and life gets better, I am never gonna throw myself back into this, and so that was part of it. It was like, we knew too that after all the big milestones, so after she speaks her first words, after the first steps, that's when we would take an us trip and, like, let her stay with the grandparents overnight, and so we went on that us trip, like, a year later, and I was like, "Alright, this trip is not only us, this is, like, baby making trip because I if we don't do it right away, my brain is never going to go back into it." So we were still kind of in the trouble with nursing, trouble with pumping phase. And I said, while it's hard, we just have to keep going because, like, I already have the therapist, I already have the support groups and the steps. And so that's why we went right away. And then my son came out so different, and everyone's like, oh, like if he was first. And I was like, no, because then it would have been worse with her second. And so it was just this relief of like, he came out smiling, he ate nonstop. Like he was, I want to say like 2 months early, he went into the NICU. So he had his own postpartum issues, but it wasn't the same. Like he would cuddle nonstop. I was like, this is like what I need what I needed, but I had gone into it ready for the worst. I was like, all right, like we pre one of our big things with the second was I pre-bought formula in bulk. So that told me that when you want to quit pumping, you already spent the money, quit. Because I was so stubborn with quitting pumping with my first, because it's the mom guilt of like, I should be able to do this. And I didn't. But I like went to formula right away. Sanity. It just saved me. And then we kind of that second kid, like, we weren't so picky about the timing and the everything. So, like, that one's fine. The Nook dropped, it's okay. The dog's kissing him on the mouth. Anyways, like, that kind of, like, the little sanity moments that we got over with the second one really quick.
Second kids are built different,
Yes.
and you're a different person. You're a different person at that
Mhm.
point, right? Like, and especially you guys, like, you went through the ringer with your first. You kind of were like battle tested. So when the
Yes.
when your son came along, you were like, okay, I'm prepared. And then, like you said, he was smiling at the hospital. Like that must have felt overwhelming. So let's sort of talk about how this journey kind of like transmuted itself into you writing a book. And again, I'm obsessed with picture books, number one, and children's books. I am now, through meeting so many incredible parents like you, obsessed with books that are kind of like masked as children's books, but also really for mom or mom and dad, which I think your book is. Like,
Mhm.
and I'm assuming that was intentional.
It's not even masked, it's straight up for mom. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
I tell people, I was like, "I'm not like the book you put in a stocking for the kid for Christmas. I'm the book like you give mom when she calls you at 2 a.m. and you say, hey, it's going to your house tomorrow. Like it is for mom. It's written from mom's perspective." I've been fighting the traditional market on that, but as I work with mental health organizations, like everyone's thrilled about it. And really, I wrote a book because I couldn't find it. So when I was having those depressive moments with my daughter. She picked up on observation, she picked up on language, and so she would kind of check in like, "Oh, what's wrong?" And I had to keep saying like, "It's not you. Like, I'm not crying because of you." And so I started to talk to her about an analogy. Like, she loves water. I do not. I'm not the water parent. And so I would talk to her with this story about, like, "You know how we go to the beach and you love it and mom doesn't because I just have a different experience." That's how I would talk about what was going on that day. Like, "You're really happy. Mom just is over here." And I started to use a cloud analogy that said, like, "You're all in the sunshine and mom has this little cloud and it's shaded right here only." And I was like, "You're in your sunshine." And so I would use a cloud pillow to show her, like, if mom's sad because, something's going on with your brother or life and anything, I would hold the cloud and say, "It's the cloud, it's not you. Like, I'm just need to cry." And we would talk about, like, mom just needs to cry. And, my husband was great at saying, "Mom needs some time to herself. Let's go over here." And so it became this bedtime story about us being at the beach and having that experience. Like, we all go to the beach and I'm always really excited in the car, and then we get there and I just want to sit and read my book and not do what they're doing. And so that was my way of explaining to her, sometimes you guys can do what you're doing and mom's going to be over here like I am at the beach. And so I turned that into a story where I do show that everyone can show up somewhere and it looks different to someone, and what they're experiencing is a cloudy day. And so in the book, it's great because the picture book aspect is how to explain it to a kid. My daughter won't say mom has depression, but she will say mom has a cloud. And the book shows that everyone's all sunny and bright and mom is dim, and that can shift throughout the day. So mom's going to rest a little bit and then she comes and plays one game and she's a little brighter, but that doesn't mean everything's better. It means she played a game, she needs to go back to sitting and resting. And so that was my goal with book 1, is writing about, like, you can participate in the ways that help you. And so one scene is mom just really needs to lay down and they want to play in the sand. So they compromise and they bury mom's legs in the sand as a mermaid. And so the idea is mom didn't need to like get up and jump around and dig in the sand. She needed to rest, but she can still be there with you and still love you, even if she just needs to rest while you play around her. And so that has been something that I just want out there in the world. So, like, if any mom is up at 2 a.m. and like, I feel like I'm the worst, I'm like, there's the book, and then I have a blog, and it's just like, you can talk to your kids about that. And you can say, I'm just having a cloudy day. It's not you, it's something with me. And I just need time to find my sunshine again. And so that's what I've been doing with my daughter and what's been resonating as I kind of meet new resources too. Like, I'm trying to build a lot of back of the book resources and build a lot of resources with local organizations to put on the blog and just have that conversation more. And kind of back to one of our original questions is like, find my strength in, okay, yes, I went through this. I'm going through this. I will always go through this. I'm not going to fix myself with depression. I don't need to fix myself. I just need to be my authentic self. Some days are super sunny, some days are cloudy. And so
Yeah.
that's been my journey with it.
I love it so much, and I was so excited when you sent me the digital copy so that I could look over it, and, I'm gonna gush for a little bit because, there were so many aspects about it that resonated with me, and it's kind of like what you were just articulating. Like, so something that was repeated to me during my journey, because I had this self-doubt, right? Like, I'm not a good mom because I'm experiencing this and I can't interact with my kids the way that I want to. And I had the question asked, like, why can't you be a good mom and experience these things? And it's just like you were saying, you can all be in the same situation, you can be in the same physical location, you can be doing the same things and experiencing them differently, and it's all valid. It doesn't mean you're a bad mom. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It means there's a cloud on you and there's sunshine on them, and that's fine. You're still there. You're all together and you're worthy of being together and deserving of being together. So I loved that. That hit me right in the feels. I also loved the portrayal of your partner and your daughter throughout the book. So your partner is just this amazing, like, kind of like conduit between the 2 of you at times, and sometimes you do the explaining. Well, I'm saying you, it's the mom character in the book, but right, it's you.
Yeah.
So sometimes you're doing the communicating, but sometimes you I mean, I don't know if this resonates with you, but sometimes I can't communicate how I'm feeling, and I there were moments in the book where dad was like, "Mom mom just needs to sit, and we can go do this." So it demonstrated that beautiful, like, partnership and communication and open communication. And then I
That
loved
was
go ahead.
actually that was, like, a huge thing with, my first editor because he was, like, you know, struggling with, like, children need a book to be about their point of view, and I was like, "No, they can experience someone else's world."
Yes.
And so he goes, "Okay, well, then let's just have mom say all of these lines." And I said, "I can't because when you have a cloud, you can't tell yourself you're fine." I was like, "Absolutely not."
No.
I was like, "Maybe now, like on a podcast, I can be like, yeah, I'm strong. It's not all of me." But if a cloud's here, I'm not gonna say that. So I said, an important thing is and has been is my husband he doesn't always come up with it on his own, spoiler, but I do send him articles, I send him things and say, "When I'm down, this might sound good to me," and then he will, like, repeat my words back to me to say, like, "Remember once you were able to say this," and so that was what we did try to get across in the book is him reminding me of things that we all as a family talk about on sunny days to say, remember it was this is what we talked about once and kind of bring it back and it was fun writing those lines because a lot of them are like literal quotes he has said to me and so then I had to fight with like maybe it doesn't sound great in like the mass market book but I can't change his like literal quote in my head and life and my daughter wrote some of the lines too which are the more ridiculous ones, but that was the same thing. It was like, this is what a 4-year-old would say to mom in this moment because that is what they said and we're capable of repeating back in those moments.
That was what I was gonna say, was that I loved that throughout the book, there was never this sense of, like, pity or confusion or anything. It was all so normalized, and, like, the daughter, the little girl in the book was never I mean, I won't say never she was obviously, like, concerned, like, she's like, "What's mommy doing?" But there was never a sense of, like, "What's wrong with mommy? Like, how can I fix this?" It was more like, "Okay." It was just like, "This happens. We know how to navigate this. We can talk about this, and we can still have a good day at the beach." And that like, when I talk to guests and one of my favorite questions to ask is like, "Do you talk about mental health with your kids?" Like, you've kind of already answered that, but, like, you do it in such a natural and developmentally appropriate way that now is this book that other families can use. I just yeah, I love the analogy of the cloud. I love that it started as a story that you and your daughter talked about, and now it's a literal story that other families can access. I guess what is your well, I also heard you mention you said my first book. Are you working on more books?
Yeah, I do. I love my illustrator. So I did like sign on for 3 books with her because I just wanted to like also like hang out with her more. I mean, I when we signed, I said, I had 3 ideas because depression looks different to everyone. So I wanted the first book to be like, this is what depression looks like to me. I am a high functioning depression person. I go out, I'm very extroverted, but I go out and I show up different based on what's going on, but I will always push myself out. I know there are depression where it's introverted. And so I wanted to also capture that in a book. And then I know there's like the opposite end where, book 3 is really like maybe mom isn't capable of going. And so the day is about, them just checking in on her and them having their time and things like that. And so the idea was to have 3 books that just kind of represent it in different ways and right through that. And, to back up to what you're saying, that I think you had a post recently too about, I'm not saying because like as an expert, because I'm certainly not. I have my failures with my kids and my positive things, but I think in talking about mental health at the younger age, I have been able to like unlock something for myself in the sanity of parenting. And so, as we talk about mental health, my daughter can understand what a lot of parents have, like, you push yourself to do and you lose yourself so much. And so your post was about like, I don't always love playing with my kid. And I'm like,
Yep.
I used to be a stay-at-home mom. I left my last job. I was so upset about it because I loved my job, but I had very sexist bosses and I wanted to do maternity leave with my son. So I left my job and that crushed my identity. And I was home 24/7, which was a very lucky experience. We saw everything in the first for our kids. We grew up with them, but you are on 24/7. And so with my daughter knowing about like the cloud analogy and what is hard, we are able to talk through when we're having a hard day. So if she is playing horsey for the 8 millionth time, I will just tell her, I'm like, Mom does not love horsey. Mom doesn't love playing it. I don't want to play it today. It's just a lot. It's like you take you time for 30 minutes, then we'll play a game we can do together. And we have that conversation a lot. And I see when some people are with us and they're not like used to being so open with like a 4-year-old and stuff. But I'm like, our quality of communication with her is this like generation cycle breaking aspect. To me, that's just so cathartic because I can go in and she's horrible at bedtime because she's 4, and I will tell her, like, "If you don't stop screaming right now, Mom does not like the noise. It's gonna give me a cloud. I'm gonna leave." And I will tell her, like, "I'm going to leave your room because this is really hard for me." And I think, like, if I can tell her that because she responds well to it, she'll start taking breaths, and if I do leave because she doesn't, she'll kinda reset herself and come out and say, like, "I didn't want you to leave." And I'm like, "Why did I leave?" And she's like, "My screaming was a lot." And I'm like, it's calming." Like, and it doesn't always work, but the fact that we are somewhat brave enough to kind of talk about our emotions with our kids means now she talks about her emotions with us in a different way that's just screaming and the unregulated 4-year-old. And some days everything fails and she won't get through it. And that's when we're like, okay, she's still 4. But some days she can really grasp it and we're like, we're getting somewhere ahead of time. And we need to because she's a mini me. We're going to sync up one day. Like, we need to do the groundwork now. Like,
I You put that so beautifully. I think there's this, whole taboo about, like, well, don't put your feelings on your kids and that's not what you're doing at all, and talking about these things, it's exactly like you said, like, you're being transparent with them, number 1, and you're not putting any blame on her. You're saying, like, "I'm overstimulated." Like, you're not saying those words explicitly probably, but, like, or maybe you are.
maybe
Um
the key is, and I do try and find that balance because I have, like, childhood trauma, very broken mental health conversation home. So my parents were very supportive in the way that they were very supportive. They did better than their parents. So they think like this is the best I can do, but it's not. When you talk about mental health, when you're open to conversations, that is the best you can do. And so I grew up a very parentified child. I was responsible for my mom's mental health because my dad would say, him and my mom would have some kind of fight. And then he would say, go watch a movie with your mom. So it's me taking care of my mom because something was going on. I didn't understand until high school, until college, until all of it, what was dysfunctional in their relationship that I was responsible for making my mom happy. And so a lot of it was, I am my mom's person, too young. I had a great relationship with my mom. We did so much together, but it wasn't until later realizing that I was like forced to do that. and it was a different relationship than just, like, being fun friends. I think that was part of all of it, was just talking with my daughter about, you know, "This is going on because me," or "This is going on because me and dad, me and this, and here's how it's not you. Here's how we can play together and we can do this together, but why?" And kind of that is the shift in like Montessori language too, like not just saying no to a kid, but saying like, I don't want you to do this because here's what is going to happen. And so I think we need to kind of get to that place so we don't have a continual like, because I told you so parentified
Yeah.
aspect. And then what happens is, like in my case, the first time you have that conversation, you're in college and you're in therapy and you're unpacking stuff, and then the resentment builds and and you can't get anywhere because it's too late. And so that's why we've tried to say, like, we're not dumping heavy things on her. Again, my book never says mom's depressed. It just is
Yeah.
mom's not having the same fun you're having, and that is okay.
Yeah. I love that you mentioned the why. We never got the why as children, exactly as you said. It's because I'm your dad, or because I said so, or don't talk back, right? Like, we never got the why, and I think that there is a shift. At least I'm seeing it in, like, millennial parents and a little bit younger, but, like, we can explain the why, and that's okay. So, yes, like, all of the things that you are sharing about and all of the core messages in your book, and I'm so excited for there to be more books, really resonate with me, and I know they're going to resonate with other parents as well. Oh, I have one more question before I do our wrap-up question. So, your youngest is he's 2 now. So, what do those sort of interactions and conversations look like with him? Because that's a very different developmental stage, but I mean, he's gotta be exposed to these same things too.
He's just so different. We have to like remind ourselves their ages too. So if you meet my daughter and I tell you she's only 4, like, it blows people's minds because she does argue like a 10-year-old, and it just she is ahead with her language, and we have to remind ourselves also not to be, like, disappointed in her sometimes because we say, like, "You know better." Like, she's still 4 somewhere. Um, my son is 2, and he did not take to language as fast as her, and we have to remind ourselves that he's not behind or anything. He's just a normal 2-year-old that's easy. And so he really takes to, like, her lead and her direction. So if we are saying to her, like, "Can you go play and do this?" She'll just know, like, she'll say, "Okay, Max, come play with me," and stuff, and so it's him kind of following. He also is really good at, like, he's very much a mama's boy right now, like, he will not hang out with my husband, but he can tell when I'm just, like, sitting and it's different, and he'll, like, come lay and snuggle and stuff, so I think in his own way, he is kind of sensing what's going on in the house and following where he needs to go. But he has his own emotions. He likes to be a rock and he'll kind of like sit and huddle and he'll go off to the side. So I think he's recognized that when someone needs time, that my daughter and I do go in our own direction and take our time. And so he has started to do that and he will go do his own thing when he needs to. And so I like that his personality, though he's not, like, as talkative as her, is coming out in the way that he takes up space and holds his own, like, where he needs to be in it, and so, I think before and we kinda got, like, excitedly tangent it, but what, like, success in the book, like, looks like for me is just that. Like, my family gets it. I feel, like, validated in, like, yes, I knew the decision to have kids was because I can do this despite everything else that goes on, and so them taking to the message of the book and them, like, sharing it and having, like, this common language with us, it's been great in sharing the book with family and friends because now I can text them and be like, "A cloudy day, we're not coming." And I don't have to follow it up with, like, a reason, and I don't need the why because that conversation is in our space, and we just kind of universally get it, and I am, I told my husband, like, "We might not make any of our money back, and that is fine." I also plan on, like, donating a bunch of the books, so we were looking at budgeting the other day because it's, like, dropping right after the holidays, and I'm like, "Just so you know, we need to put all this money aside because I'm gonna, like, donate it to all these mental health groups," and but that's it. It's like the language is out there, and whether it looks like my daughter and I talking through it or my son just kind of sitting off by himself, it's just been different to everyone who needs it. And I'm also excited, like, the book's gonna come with some, like, swag sheets and stuff to just say, like, "Draw what it is for you. Is it a cloud? Is it another, like, weather object? Is it something recognizable to yourself to just say, 'This is what it looks like when I'm processing my emotions,' and how you can see what's going on with me even though it's this, like, invisible cloud."
Yeah. Ugh. Ugh. I am so excited. I know, I know. I don't have words. I'm so excited. I think, what I've appreciated most about, like, this chat and this conversation is how easy it has been to just talk about the messy, the not so fun, the nothing out of your mouth has like, I don't even feel like whether you do or you don't, when you speak about this, I don't feel shame. I don't feel this has been such like a safe conversation. This has been such a vulnerable conversation and I so appreciate that because that is exactly what we're trying to do here, right? We want to be able to talk about these things with each other because more of us are experiencing them than not. And that's okay. And if you're not experiencing that, that's cool. We're really happy for you. That's wonderful. But and not but and we can hold space here too. So this oh my goodness, I've loved this conversation. I love the book. I cannot wait to share it with all the people. Before I get to I'm doing things a little differently for my wrap up. Before I get to that, where can my listeners find you and find the work that you're doing?
So I am on Instagram at Cloudy Day Chronicles. And then that shares with the blog cloudydaychronicles.wordpress.com. I'm not great at website making, so there is an author page, but I'm working on it. So that's on the blog, which is the cloudydaychronicles.wordpress.com. I have figured that one out, so that one's not changing. But my goal is like people connecting on the Instagram, people sharing stuff that I could reshare. That's how I found you. And it's just the more like we all have that same conversation is just making sure that when someone, whether it's a mom, a non parent, just sitting there and searching and wanting to look up, like, hey, I'm having a cloudy day, and having people find something that says it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah. I love it. I'm so glad that we found each other and yeah, and that we have had this opportunity to chat. So, okay, now comes the challenge.
Mhm.
I'm challenging my guests now. So I'm taking us back to before the days of cell phones. Um, I'm not gonna even try to age you, but I will tell you I'm an elder millennial. I remember when you had to call the landline and hope that mom or dad didn't pick up, especially if you were calling a crush.
Or that your
Um,
internet wasn't on and you kicked everyone.
yes, get off the internet.
Yes.
I'm trying or get off the phone. I'm trying to get on the internet. So I'm going back to those days where we were not instantly reachable all of the time. And if you called someone and they didn't answer, you had to leave a voicemail. So you called Quiet Connection today. And my next guest it wasn't here. You don't know them. You don't know what their story is, but you called and you got to leave a message. What message would you leave for my next guest?
Am I getting like a beeping?
Some people ask that, and I think it's so funny. No, I'll just go, okay, ready, beep.
I am so excited you were on. Remember, be your authentic self because people want to hear what you are going to say. Whether it's the masses, don't worry about it. At least one person needs your message. Say it, be loud about it. This is a safe space. And we are so thankful that you are sharing.
I love
Beep.
that. Beep.
That's it.
so
Click.
much.
I'm a click.
Yeah, click. That's when you had to actually put the phone
Yeah.
down. Or if you had a cordless, you could push the button. But um what I love about it is that every message is different and it's kind of a little ploy cuz you have to come back to the episode before yours to get your
Oh, yeah, I
message,
do.
right? Yeah, and I'm really interested to see so guests and future guests and past guests if the message resonated. I have this I'm a little woo-woo if we're really gonna get into it. So I kind of believe sometimes that the messages that are meant to find you will find you. So I'm really interested. We'll have to see. When you come back, you'll have to let me know if that message resonated with you. But
Now, like, missed opportunity. Make them tell a joke. Well, my daughter's learning jokes, and she's just so bad at them. So I was like, I should have set up and be like, "Can you please share a joke so I can just have her hear a good one?"
my gosh. They don't get better at I mean, my oldest is 10 and her jokes are just barely starting to get funny. So, yeah, I've mastered the fake laugh. And she's like, you don't really think it's
No,
funny.
that's where I'm honest. People will tell her, "That's so good." I'm like, "Don't tell her that, then she won't try
No.
harder." I was like, "Tell her you could do better." Like, and we do, like, she'll draw sometimes and people are like, "It's so great." I'm like, "No, it's not. You've had better horses. Like, let's go." Like, I have so much fridge room. Like,
Oh my god. I love that. I don't know. I love it. I have so enjoyed chatting with you today. I'm so glad that we connected, and I'm just really excited to get the word out about your book. So thank
thank you.
you. Wow, I honestly have no words. What a truly honest and vulnerable conversation. Kendall, thank you for sharing your story, your journey, and your incredible resources at Cloudy Day Chronicles. You can find Kendall and her work on Instagram at Cloudy Day Chronicles and read her blog at cloudydaychronicles.wordpress.com. Head to the show notes for those links. And if this episode resonated with you, please consider supporting the Quiet Connection community. You can find us on social media at Quiet Connection Podcast. We love hearing from you. Check out our Patreon, buy me a coffee, or subscribe on Substack for exclusive content and help us keep these important conversations going. And if you'd like to share your story, you can reach us through our website, quietconnectionpodcast.com, or by email at chelsea@quietconnectionpodcast.com. Join us next time when another story is told and you realize you are not alone. I see you. Hey, it's Chelsea. I just wanted to take a moment to thank you for tuning in and being a part of the Quiet Connection community. Did you know that you can support me and gain exclusive perks by subscribing to my Patreon account? By becoming a subscriber, you'll get access to bonus episodes, ad-free listening, exclusive chats, and even monthly goodies in the mail handmade by me. Your support helps me continue creating high-quality content and ensures that we keep spreading awareness and ending the stigma surrounding perinatal mood and anxiety disorders and so much more. Head on over to Patreon, search Quiet Connection Podcast, and join the community of listeners who are helping me make this podcast the best it can be.